is that the ones that are listed for 385 are possessing game birds or game mammals other than big game fish, species not legally processed without a license or permit. Those are the ones I see for 385. And the description of the classification of violation, the one that matches is the unlawfully possessing big game mammals during the closed season. That's what the conviction document says that the conviction was for. So, I hope I'm clarifying and not arguing here. That's all I wanted to do was explain what's in the regulations. And I'm sorry, was that clear enough, or did you need more? Do you have a copy of that? Do you want to look at it?
I may have a copy. I don't have it out in front of me. So what you're saying is the demerit points are the same, but the description of the action was different, or are you saying that they're actually, the demerit points are different? I was just trying to see if there was a difference.
The demerit points listed next to the statute number where the description doesn't match are different, yes.
There are, and I'm looking at NAC 501-200, the schedule of demerit points. There are varying demerit assessments for 501-385 depending upon the violation, but specifically under unlawful possession it says unlawfully possessing big game mammals during the closed season, which is what Mr. Bennett pled guilty to. It's 12 demerits. So I don't see how the department could have then turned around and said, well, there's a reference to this statute and plea agreement, and I'm going to ignore the second amended criminal complaint and assess less. I think it was a mandatory 12 demerit assessment based upon the charge and the plea of no contest and the scheduled demerit points set forth in the administrative code.
Commissioner Hubbs, do you have anything further?
Well, I guess my only input at that point in time is I would feel like the demerit notice should reference the correct statute, and if it's a scaled demerit system on the statute in which he pled guilty to, then it looks like it was in the department's purview to go with the big game possession and apply 12 points.
Further questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Hubbs.
I just was wondering if we should correct the paperwork or if we should leave it citing NRS 503.030. That's my question.
My view is the paperwork is correct. Pled no contest to a charging document that referenced 503.030.
If I have nothing further from the commission, I'm going to lean on Vice Chairman Johnston for
I guess I'd ask Mr. Stockton, is it necessary for me to try to state findings of fact, conclusions of law now in the motion?
So there's a couple of ways boards do it. That would be the cleanest if you state those findings of fact and conclusions of law in the motion, and then I'll write them up from that. The other thing you can do is just give me a general outline, and then from the discussion, I'll get a copy of the transcript, and from the discussion I can I don't want to say tease out, but reflect the opinion of the commission in that regard. But the cleanest is obviously, you can either, if it's your pleasure, you can just make the decision on the record. I don't have to write anything up. Most boards prefer that we have a written order that comes out.
Well, I'll take a stab at this. I would move that this commission deny the appeal of Mr. Bennett and affirm the department's assessment of 12 demerit points based upon the following findings of fact and conclusions of law. that Stephen Frank Bennett was charged by way of an amended second criminal complaint in the Elko Justice Court of violating NRS 503.030, possession of wildlife outside of an open season, charged as a misdemeanor pursuant to NRS 501.385. Charging document specified that Mr. Bennett, after his co-defendant Amy Jo Summers shot the bull elk, which was not in season in Nevada, the defendant, who knew or should have known that the bull elk was taken out of season, did assist Ms. Summers in the taking by allowing or assisting in the loading of the elk onto the defendant's trailer attached to his four-wheeler, and the defendant possessed the elk while he did carry the animal back to camp in Utah with his four-wheeler and/or trailer. Mr. Bennett entered a plea of no contest pursuant to Alford in the Elko Justice Court, pursuant to a memorandum of plea agreement that was filed in that court on February 28, 2017. The memorandum of plea agreement says that Stephen Frank Bennett hereby agrees to enter a plea of no contest to one count of possession of wildlife outside of open season, a misdemeanor in violation of NRS 501.385. Plea agreement further states that the state further agrees to seek no civil penalties against me regarding those events. Based upon the plea agreement and the resulting conviction, the state assessed 12 demerit points under the Administrative Code, Section 501200. As a result of being assessed 12 demerit points, the department revoked his hunting and fishing privileges. The commission does not find that the department erred in assessing the 12 demerit points on Mr. Bennett based upon his conviction in the Elko Justice Court or revoking his hunting and privilege licenses. Mr. Bennett argues that the department was precluded from assessing demerits because the memorandum of plea agreement states that the state would not, or agrees to seek no civil penalties. That language in the plea agreement is clear and unambiguous. It precluded the state from not seeking from the justice court in which the conviction was entered a civil penalty under NRS 501.3855. Separate statutes address demerit point system. That's found in NRS 501.1814. Because the statutes speak to different items, one in which civil penalties can be sought by the state in the court, and one in which the commission shall establish and the department shall administer a demerit point system, the reference in the plea agreement that the state will not seek civil penalties was certainly limited only to the state's ability to seek civil penalties from the court under NRS 501.3855. It did not preclude this department from administering the demerit point system established pursuant to a separate statute under NRS 501.814. In addition, I would note that there is even additional consequences that can occur from wildlife violations set forth in yet a separate statute, which is the forfeiture statute, NRS 501.3857. The plea agreement is silent on the issue of forfeiture. Given the fact that the plea agreement mentions only civil penalties, speaks nothing to forfeiture or the demerit system, and because all three of those items are set forth in different statutes, the plea agreement only focused and only addressed civil penalties. It did not preclude the state or the department from assessing Mr. Bennett the 12 demerit points as it did. Mr. Bennett also argues that he did not plead guilty to a violation of NRS 503.030 and only pled guilty to NRS 501.385. This commission finds that argument unconvincing. First, the plea agreement on its face says that he was pleading guilty to possession of wildlife outside of open season. That is not included in NRS 501.385. NRS 501-385 simply provided the misdemeanor penalty or consequences of his violation of NRS 503.030. More importantly, Mr. Bennett pled guilty to what he was charged with in the charging document, which was possession of an elk outside the season after his co-defendant shot it. That demerit is set forth in the unlawful possession section, unlawful possessing big game animals during the closed season, 12 demerit points, and that is in 501.200, subsection 1. As a result, the department did not err in assessing the 12 demerit points or revoking Mr. Bennett's hunting and fishing privileges. For these reasons, the decision of the department's affirmed.
And I will second that motion. Is the commission clear on the motion of findings of fact and conclusions of law? Mr. Stockton?
So just to be clear, we're just going to go with the decision on the record, or do you want me to prepare a written document?
I'm fine with it on the record.
I am too. Questions on the motion from the commission?
Again, I stated my thoughts and interpretation of the plea agreement with the state, and looking at the information and reviewing NRS 501.385 and understanding that the department under that statute still had the capability of awarding up to 12 or applying up to 12 demerit points under the statute in which he pled, even though it did say possession of wildlife outside of open season, it does cite a specific statute and reference. So as it pertains, I think, to the memorandum that was submitted by NDOW, even if the statute was changed to match the plea agreement, I believe it would be simple error and nominal in application. So I still agree with the ultimate result in that the department did not err in applying the demerit points to Mr. Bennett at this time.
Further comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously 8-0 with Commissioner Young absent. And we will close agenda item number 7, and we'll take a 15-minute break until 11:30 and resume with agenda item number 8. Thank you.